exclude people from being able to talk to you and things of that sort. We're not yet thinking that we'd want to prevent you from going to a particular server simply because this player is actually on there. One other really interesting thing about version 2.0 is that it's going to add the ability, what we call gem routing, and basically gem, the generic instance manager, is the service that sits in the background and it keeps track of all of the different instances that are instantiated across the entire universe. It also keeps track of which players are allocated to which instance, and it controls when a player wants to move from one instance to another, exactly which one he's routed to. And so one of the enhancements that we're going to be making available in version 2.0 is going to be the ability so that when you use an elevator, it will show you your destination, but it will also show you the different instances within which you have other party members or friends so that you can select which one you want to go into. So when you go into your hangar now, you'll be able to just select, I want to go to Area 18, throw me wherever you want to, do the best fit. But you can also see, well, you have 3 party members on this instance, and you have 6 friends on this instance, and you have 14 friends on this instance. Which one would you actually prefer to go to? And the one with only 6 friends might be more interesting because you're trying to get that guy to come over to your party, but he's not responding, etc., or whatever the case may be.
I'm not that interesting. I don't have that many friends. So 2.0 sounds great. Looking ahead, what's next?
The next big one on our side after the Million Mile High Club, 2.0 and all that, is really going to be the shopping milestone, and that's the one that is for the first time going to give you the ability to start customizing your character. You'll do that via Kasaba Outlet, which is one of the stores that's in Area 18 right now, but it's been closed off. You will have the ability to go into that store. There will be a variety of different types of clothing, scattered about that shop, shirts, pants, jackets, hats, shoes, things of that sort. You'll be able to utilize a currency. There's still some debate over exactly, what we're going to do with, what type of currency and all that. And you'll be able to purchase these things to customize your character how you see fit. This will also be the first test of the true persistence system. There is persistence of a sort within the game right now, but whether it's on the platform, the login side, or whether it's in terms of how you customize your ship, there are, for a variety of different reasons, these are not the long-term solutions for the overall game. What we've been focused on, for a while now, is basically building out the back-end functionality and services and database, abstraction layers and all that type of stuff to allow us to really, handle persistence in a proper way for a large, multiplayer game like this. And so this will be the first small test of that system. Is that those pieces of clothing will actually, all of those clothing transactions will be getting executed via the server. The changes to your inventory will not be stored locally. They will not be stored over in a web database, on Turbulent side. They'll actually be getting stored in the persistent universe, database. One other thing that's going to allow you to customize your character a bit farther will be right now, with the initial release of the social module, we just put in a short picture. You should click F6 to change the angle of your character. That was really a very last minute thing that we added just because we didn't want everyone to look the exact same. And so now we've kind of built that out a little bit to where you'll be able to go to a particular usable in your hangar and you'll be able to utilize it. And at that point, you can see your character and you can either select standard civilian clothing, which is what you would choose if you wanted to go up and basically access Kasaba and start changing your t-shirt and your pants and stuff like that. You can also select any of the 6 suits of armor that we're giving you access to right now. Obviously, that will be restricted according to which ones you own, for the final game. We want to also allow the ability to, for you to modify your skin tone, your face, and your hair. It's not yet clear how many of those will actually make their way into that 2.1 shopping milestone, but if whatever doesn't hit there will show up shortly thereafter. But that's the short-term incentives allow you to modify those aspects of your personal appearance, and also the clothing that you're actually wearing.
Now, when we dropped the social module, one of the things that surprised a lot of folks is we gave them a sneak peek of the upcoming Nix-Levski landing zone, and that blew lots of people away. It was a great look at what was coming next. Is there anything more you can tell us about Nix?
Yeah, Nix will likely show up in the milestone immediately after shopping. It's interesting in that Nix has actually been largely done for quite a while. There was one particular area, this bazaar area, that still had a lot of design details and artistic issues that needed to be worked out. But with those now resolved, production is proceeding at full speed on it, and we expect to have that done fairly soon. And so we should actually be able to spend quite a bit of time refining and tweaking and ensuring that the performance is at the level that we actually want before we release it to the community. In other words, the actual build out of the level is going really, really well at this point.
Very cool. And when that time comes, do you have any thoughts about how people will access it? Will it be another destination on the elevator?
That's for the short term. We're just going to cheat, and basically you're going to have the magical elevator that you can access from from Area 18 or from your hangar. Obviously that will change as we get a little bit farther along, and you're gain the ability to go out in space, gain the ability to travel to different systems and stuff. But for the short term, we will just allow players to go in there, and it will just be another destination on that elevator. It's actually Nix is really interesting from my perspective for a variety of different reasons, one of which is that it actually gives us the ability to have three completely distinct functional areas. And what I mean by that is when you first land in Nix and you come out, you go through customs and you basically go down to the main area. There's law and order, there's security, it's all well maintained, all the lights are on, there's security guards, there's civilians going about their business. There's shops in which you can do business, etc. There are hints internally that you're within an asteroid. That's you can see that from windows that give these beautiful views of the outside. You can tell because some of the ceilings there was no point to basically building dedicated roofs and ceilings and all that type of stuff. And so you can actually see big huge chunks of still exposed asteroid stone. Rock, metals, etc., just hanging throughout various areas. But in general, that area actually looks, it looks very modern. It looks very built out. It looks like what it's supposed to be, which is an area that people, did a lot of business. They actually, conducted a lot of business in that area. As you start to move, down various, corridors and passageways away from that central area, you'll start to encounter what we call, it's a more dangerous zone. Basically, it's an area that's no longer officially utilized by the political and civilian classes of this planet, and it's been overtaken by more questionable types. There's much more crime there than you would ever see in the central area of the city. There's no security to discourage it. There are obviously just some hard luck cases out there. You'll see things along, stuff that's fallen into disrepair, lights that are flickering, not working, control panels that no longer operate, doors that are half stuck open, that type of thing, to where it looks very similar, conceptually to the central area, except it looks like it's been, properly maintained for a decade. Then, if you continue proceeding even farther, you'll get into what we call the excavation areas, and this is where, once upon a time, decades earlier, when this was an area that they thought was going to be a booming mining area, they were clearing out all sorts of new caverns, drilling them out, etc. And the idea was they were eventually going to put in all these control rooms and storage facilities, etc. And all of that construction stopped very quickly when they decided that given the surveys that they were doing, that it was going to be way more difficult to extract sufficient value to warrant all of the investment being made. And so the original inhabitants of Nix took off, and all of the whatever you want to say.
Construction equipment when it was left behind.
That was all left behind, and basically this more politically oriented, population gradually moved in, and basically what you wound up with is a populace that tends to be a little bit more, radical in their, overall, political beliefs versus the mainstream, and this, manifests itself in a number of different ways. Some of which is the fact that they're not willing to basically, go and try to make a concerted effort to clean out crime in the distant areas of Nix. They'd really rather just, cordon it off and prevent it and keep it over there. So it's not their, it's not their problem to solve. And so these back areas, these excavated areas, are really particularly interesting because there's no infrastructure within there at all. There are no ladders, there are no stairs, there are no lights. It's really just you're going through caverns. There's a very organic feel, fungus on the walls, dripping water, things of that sort. And one of the things I find most interesting about that is as a playground where we can put everything from wanted felons that are hiding out, the most nefarious criminals and stuff. That would be basically the zone where they operate from farthest away from the security forces and things of that sort. This is where you'd find a lot of illicit trading activity and stuff would be centered back in those areas. So there's a lot of potential on Nix for players that don't want to necessarily adhere to the law, that are willing to.
So when Nix ships, whenever that is, no dates, guys. What else?
Well, one of the other more interesting features that will come online, most likely with the same milestone as Nix, will be the ability to route purchases to areas other than on your person. And what I mean by that is kind of like what we were talking about earlier. When I go into a shop and I find a T-shirt that I like, or I go to a souvenir shop or whatever, and I have a list of items, what do I do with it? Obviously, in the case of clothing, you can just replace the one you have. But what if you actually want to keep the clothing you have? What if you want to buy a vase, but you don't actually want to carry it around, and you don't want to take the multi-minute journey back to your ship to stow it away? And so with Nix, we'll be incorporating features within the user interface so that when you're buying or selling, for that matter, items, you can specify as the source or destination, depending upon which one you're doing, where you want these items to go or be pulled from. And so if I purchase something, I can basically direct its delivery for a nominal surcharge back to one of my uniquely named ships, back to my hangar, or back to my Million Mile High Club, and then once I'm back there, I can decide what I actually want to do with them.
We spoke to Rob earlier today, and he mentioned there's a number of shops in Nix, whose names escape me at the moment. What can you tell us about our shopping opportunities in Nix?
Nix has a really interesting mix of shops because not only does it have the more formal commercial shops like you might see on Area 18, the more established four walls, ceiling, floor, that type of stuff, lots of inventory, clearly a commercial vendor, with a good number of goods to be sold. But it's also got what we call this bazaar area, and that's where much smaller local merchants, or actually I wouldn't call them local merchants, I'd say they're more nomadic merchants, basically come, and sometimes they're there for a day, sometimes they're there for a week, sometimes they've got a very set amount of inventory, and that's it. And these are guys in this one central bazaar area where you can pick up a variety of odds and ends that you don't often see within the larger, more established stores.
So what kind of things can we buy in this? What was it, a bazaar? Yeah. Grand Bazaar?
Yep. Yeah, so in the Grand Bazaar, you'd be able to buy anything from cases of liquor to seeds that you can plant, assuming you're a farmer and interested in that type of thing. There will be all sorts of decorative items, plants that you can place, either within your Million Mile High Club or within your hangar, things of that sort. There's going to be food for just general consumption. There's going to be a variety of souvenirs, unique to that area and that they've imported from other areas that you could pick up. Just a wide variety of smaller items of much more limited quantity than what you would typically see in the larger, more established shops.
And not just things to customize your hangar or your shop, but also yourself.
That's not only that, but I'd go even farther insofar as there's actually information you can purchase that can lead to missions. There's maps that you can buy, and so really anyone that goes to Nick's, you really should make the rounds through all these guys, and it will vary. It's not always going to be the same guy selling the same stuff, and see what is actually on offer and whether it's of interest to you, on that particular day, given what you're currently doing.
Wow, that's fantastic. We've taken up a lot of your time here, and thank you for it so much. Can you give us one more thing before we let you go? Beyond Nick's, a quick top-level look, Hurston, the rest of the stand system, just what's down the line for the persistent universe?
Yeah, in general, not much has changed in regards to the overall order versus what I kind of mentioned